have body language and micro-expressions expert Craig James Baxter here with us in the studio today. Now, I am fascinated by all this stuff. We've already shared some top tips that we can use, which is absolutely fantastic. So, talking about even flirting and dating now. So, with 2012 being just around the corner, I cannot believe it's only weeks away.
I know, you can't believe it. It's this year's gone so fast.
Oh, unbelievably. It's absolutely flown by. So, if you are looking to find love in 2012, how can we use our body language to attract a potential partner?
Well, that's what it's all about. It's suggestive body language. But before you get into all that, you need to make sure you look desirable. So making sure you wear nice clothes, nice shoes, gentlemen, nice shirts, making sure you're clean shaven, good hairstyles, things like that. But obviously with the run up to Christmas and New Year, there's a lot of love in the air. People want to buy things, you know, there's a lot of sadness at New Year as well. But in relation to flirting and dating, like I said before, gentlemen, it's all done via the lady. She will silently let you know if she likes you or not, or likes your appearance. That's what basically, if you're meeting someone for the first time, that's all they can judge. They can't necessarily judge your personality just based on looks. So when she's giving you the green light to go over, obviously you're preening yourself, so you might try and make yourself as masculine as possible by like be sucking your belly in, you'll be opening your chest up to make yourself appear bigger than you actually are. Whereas a woman will making herself look more submissive. So she'll be adjusting her belt, she'll be flicking her hair back, she'll be making sure her lipstick's looking good, her mascara, things like that. And when you get over to each other, it's all about the touch, because that's what you want to do. You want to nothing intimate, obviously, but it's more like the little touches on the wrist and the hands and the elbows, signs that it's going really well. Obviously, that people, men make the misconception of going up to a woman and giving her some horrible chat-up line, which there's no reason to do. If you're quite adept at reading non-verbal communication and body language, then you should be able to spot the signs that it's going well. Like I said before, like the smile's obviously a key one, but you need to make sure it's a true and felt smile. So you're looking for crinkling around the eye, gentlemen. If you're talking to a woman and you're making her laugh, you're looking for that little muscle at the corner of the eye that makes it look like a crow's feet. If you see that quite a lot when you're talking to her, it's a good sign. It's a good non-verbal sign that things are going well. Then you can build on that. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a true and felt smile. If she started smiling, she looks like she doesn't appear that you're going to be a threat, and that's what we want. You want to try and avoid any closed off body language. You want to try and avoid folding your arms. If she starts folding her arms, it's not going well. And a good tip, especially gentlemen, if you're out with a lady on the first date, her handbag has got significant importance to where it sits. If she places her handbag in anywhere near your vicinity, it's going well. The handbag is an extension of her. It's got all her things in, like her makeup, her purse, her keys, things like that, things that have got significant meaning. She places that anywhere near you, it's a sign of trust and it's going well.
So what if she's on the dance floor and she asks you to look after her bag?
That's good. That's
okay.
a good sign. If you can just hold on to this for me, it means that she trusts you, and she also trusts you to defend that bag. So she's liking you on two areas there, you see, and that's good. We're seeing a cluster of like movements. We like that. If she keeps hold of her bag, she might not be familiar with her surroundings, but it's also an indication that she's not overly comfortable with you. So we need to watch out for that. Again, with flirting and dating, it's all about personal space. Trying to, obviously with flirting and dating, you're trying to invade each other's personal space. But again, you need to know the personality type. If an extrovert quite likes open spaces, but the lady's quite an introvert and quite shy, she won't like you encroaching on her space. So gentlemen, my top tip for you is let the woman determine how far or how near you stand to each other.
Okay. And what about being tactile then? So if someone touches you quite a lot.
Tactilics is good. If a lady starts touching you around the arms or the shoulders or anywhere like that, it's a good sign. It's a good sign of emotional bond and emotional trust. However, if there's no tactilics, it's not going massively well. Again, the hug at the end often indicates, if it's going well or not, because the amount of times you see on first dates, on all these shows, that the hug at the end is ridiculously awkward. It's like a half hug and it's like you're leaning away. Whereas if you see two people are actually into each other, how they embrace and hug, it's a massive contrast. And again, that's just body language. That's use of tactilics, which a woman will authorise that. Guys, don't go up to her and start touching her shoulders and her back, things like that, because she'll get freaked out, and then all that trust you're silently building non-verbally will all go. So all the dating and flirting is issued by the lady. You've got to play by her rules, I'm afraid.
And what about the old phrase, treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen? Does that ring true?
Yeah, it does have some weight to that, I'm afraid. Women generally don't like guys that are too, what's the word, like too effeminate, really. They like a bit of, a little bit rough around the edges that they can potentially mould into fine gentlemen. But like I say, manners cost nothing, and that's often what a lady looks for, is a more gentleman person than actually quite rough around the edges. The amount of times I speak to people, I do a little bit of relationship as well, women saying to me, I wish my boyfriend had treated me better, we should take me out somewhere, or take me to the cinema, or take me bowling, things like that, instead of going to the pub and things like that. So in the flirting and dating world, it works both ways. In the flirting and dating world, you want someone who's a bit like rough and ready, but as you develop into a relationship, you don't want that anymore. You want eventually to settle down with somebody. So you don't want that brash attitude you often get with flirting and dating. So it's amazing the contrast it goes from actually trying to impress somebody to actually trying to sustain and develop a long-lasting and a meaningful relationship. They're completely poles apart. Flirting and dating and actual relationships, they're massively poles apart.
So do you think it changes then? I mean, when someone's been with somebody for quite a long time as well, do you think their body language and everything?
Yeah, well, amazingly enough, it does start to change, but amazingly enough, you'll start to mimic what the other person's doing, and it's called isopraxium, and then you will start using the gestures, expressions, and facial expressions of your partner. Studies have shown that after, I think it's 20 to 30 years of the same person, your facial expressions and shape will go often looking like your person, your partner, I should say, and that's because you'll often start mimicking the expressions that someone does, because obviously your muscles in the face are very similar to your muscles around the body. They can be moulded, either muscular atrophy or they can develop in size, and that's how the facial expressions work. So often you'll start mimicking the other person, you'll start mirroring them more. Obviously over a long period of time the relationship might fizzle out, and the divorce rates are now over 50%, which is a shame, but that's when you go back into the dating and flirting world, you see. So obviously you want to, it's very difficult now to meet someone on a night out and then date them and then be in a relationship with them and then they get married, kids, and do the long thing. That very rarely happens these days. Like years and years ago that's what happened, but with advances in technology and Facebook and mobile phones and the computer and things like that, it's you don't get many couples staying together for a long period these days. Whereas back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were.
A lot of them didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
My grandma's 93, and oh goodness, she was married. I think she was 18, and had about 6 kids. And
wow,
it's those days. So, do you think then, with the growth of internet dating and Facebook and tweeting on Twitter and all that, people meeting people online through this internet dating, obviously they can't see people's body language, they can't pick up on any of these signals.
That's true.
Do you think it's more successful or less successful?
I think it works. I think it works both ways. I think it's less successful because you're seeing someone's self-edited version of themselves on the computer. You can portray yourself to be anything you want. Obviously, people will edit themselves because they've got a false belief that their actual true self isn't desirable enough to attract someone. That's why you're on an internet dating site. But it's good for those people who find it difficult, who are shy, who are relatively introverts, who find it difficult to meet people in a social environment and talk to them. So internet dating works both ways, like I've just said there. So it's bearing in mind on an internet dating site, you'll put your best pictures up of when you are at your most glamorous, and chances are when you'll meet somebody, obviously you'll be glamorous, but it's a false impression you're giving on somebody.
Some people put their best picture up of like 10 years ago.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not relative, and you'll get sucked in thinking, God, she's nice, and you actually meet her and she's 35 years older and had 4 kids since that picture. So it's very difficult to get an actual perspective of someone if they edit it themselves, and that's where the problem comes in. But obviously internet dating removes that problem at the start about what to talk about, because if you're chatting to someone for 2 or 3 weeks and you find out a lot of information about them, when you actually have your first date and meet, you've got a lot to talk about. Whereas if you were just to meet someone on the street, have a date with them, it can be quite hard work if you're into what they're into, but you'd already gauged that by on the computer, you see. So you've got generally more to talk about via the internet. Whereas if you meet someone on the street and you date them and you think, well, are you dating? And think, well, they're not actually right for me because they don't like this, they don't like that, with no similar interests. It works both ways.
So we are going to be taking some emails as well,
yes,
different questions today. Now, I've got a question for you. I've got a lovely cousin, hope he's not listening today, who's looking to meet somebody.
Right.
And he finds that whenever he meets someone that he actually really, really likes, he gets so shy and nervous and often says things that he doesn't mean to say,
bit
fumbly and mumbly and what have you. So any top tips that you could give him if he's looking to meet somebody and he met someone and he really, really liked them? How could he go about putting himself over in the best possible way?
Well, confidence is something you can develop. Obviously, I mean, looking at using NLP techniques and hypnotherapy techniques, there are ways around to make yourself more confident and make yourself more comfortable around an attractive, person of the opposite sex. I think a good way to get yourself across is to dress smartly. That's a good way, because then you've got the confidence in yourself. If you go wearing scruffs and an old shirt that's ironed, it shows you've got not necessarily no self-confidence, but you don't care about your image that you're portraying to somebody else. But again, nervousness and nervous energy, anxiety comes in with a lack of confidence. So you want to be doing confidence exercises like, I don't know, maybe coming on the radio and talking about your problems, or maybe doing some research on how to develop your confidence.
On Jeremy Kyle.
There you go, yes, that's very good. But again, it's very difficult because what you apply in often, in settings, confidence builder, it can be a lot different in actual real life. So if you're listening out there, sorry, because the best thing I can do is make sure you get yourself some nice shoes, some nice jeans, a nice top, and just try your best. That's all you can do. Try your very best, but try and look at the non-verbal communication, see how well it's going. You might be really shy, but then again, she might really like you. So there'll be no reason to be shy because you're not wondering, oh, does she like me or not? Because you're gauging her non-verbal responses. Look at for a true and felt smile. Judge if she's coming on to you. Is she invading your personal space? Is she not? Is she giving you tactilics? Is she being submissive with the eyes? Is her eyes, the head down, eyes up? There's lots of things you can read silently that you don't need to. Obviously, you wouldn't tell her, by the way, I do body language. I'm just going to read you. Obviously, you wouldn't just say that because the whole thing will be over in a matter of seconds. But if he's listening, non-verbal communication is the key, and confidence building exercises will help you find a nice one.
Sometimes just trying to be yourself, isn't it, as well? Just relaxing and trying to be yourself. Yeah. I think sometimes men can try too hard as well, and it makes them seem a bit more nervous.
Yeah, and there was a study done, I think it was in 1998, that around 60% of people will lie to initiate a date with somebody else. So they will purposely lie about something to make themselves better, or to make themselves appear more desirable to the opposite sex. They will lie, and that's a nightmare, because the whole thing then is built on false pretenses. And if that lie comes out, then your trustworthiness with the opposite, with your partner, gone. So don't lie, gentlemen. Be honest.
So what do you think of all these programmes? I mean, we mentioned one earlier, Dating in the Dark. I've not watched it myself, but Dating in the Dark.
Me and my missus like watching Dating in the Dark because it's all about basically non-verbal communication. You can't obviously see the person in the room with you, and towards the end of the show, you'll get to see that person in the dark, and then obviously the light will come on and you reveal who you're seeing. And that's a good way of spotting non-verbal communication, because what you're looking at then is someone's reaction about how, if they rate their attractiveness or not. And you can see with the facial expressions about how someone really, if they like them or not. And it's a lot of crinkling of the nose and eyebrows down or eyebrows up to indicate surprise. So if you enjoy body language, try and check out this TV show, Dating in the Dark. It's very good, and if you'd be able to spot non-verbal communication kicking off there, because basically you're trying to flirt with someone, but you can't see them, so you don't know if you find them physically attractive. You're just going off their personality.
Absolutely.
So it's a good program to learn from.
Interesting stuff. So when we talk about celebrity dating as well, so you talked about earlier Alex Reid and Chantel.
Yeah, of course.
What have you. So what's body language of people that are in love? Do they do quite similar things?
Yeah, well, they'll sometimes finish each other's sentences because they've got that mental mindset. I could show you examples of people who are not in love, and their body language doesn't mirror what they're doing. There's a lot of asymmetrical movements between the two of them. What we're looking for is two people who are in harmony, about interlocking hands, about how they sit and embrace. And what was a massive contrast between Alex Reid and Jordan, there was none of that. Every time I saw them together, it was always her, because she was the big star in the limelight, so she wanted the press all around her, and Alex was in the background. We don't see that with Chantel and Alex at the moment. I've seen them on, I think it was Good Morning, and I've seen they did a show in Ireland, and the body language looks very good. They look good together. You can just see it. Often you can see, I don't know if it's necessarily coached behaviour, because obviously these kind of celebrities have non-verbal coaches to make, to appear, which will have attempted behavioural control. But these two look pretty good together. So it's all about looking, like leg movements, being in the same place as the other person, body orientation. So, sitting next to each other with just good open gestures. And these two have it, which is very rare for me, because I'm usually very, very heavily critical of celebrity couples who get together, A, for the fame, B, for the money, C, for every other reason under the sun, try and get more fame. But these two actually genuinely look good, which I'm just as surprised as anybody else.
Oh, it's nice when people are in love,
yes,
though, hey? Do you like that? A bit of loving? Absolutely.
They can invite me to their wedding as well.
Well, there you go. There you go. You might have a new job.
Yes,
doing some body language every day. Are you getting in that festive spirit yet? Christmas just around the corner. Cannot believe it, how fast this year has gone. Well, we are getting in the festive mood today, playing a few Christmas songs, and I'm joined today by body language and micro-expressions expert Craig James Baxter. So, learning some fascinating top tips on how you can spot lying and deception. So, huge welcome to you, Craig.
Hello.
Are you in the Christmas spirit yet?
Getting there. I'm almost there. I think another few more Christmas songs and I'll cracked it, yes.
You've got your Christmas tree up, you're sorted?
Yes, me and the missus put ours up yesterday. However, we need to nip back to Tesco because we bought some tinsel and it only goes around one half of the tree. So it doesn't look very good.
Well, what you do is you push your tree up against the wall and the bit that you can see, just decorate it with that little bit of tinsel.
Brilliant, right. You saved us £4 there.
There you go, top tip for you. So it's always really magical for kids, isn't it, Christmas?
Yeah.
When you grow up, it's not quite the same, but we do like to get in the festive spirit. So we're talking all about body language today and spotting lying and deception, which is quite a fascinating subject,
it is,
really,
massively
isn't it?
Fascinating, yeah. People love learning about it.
And you've done absolutely loads of video analysis clips, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I'm around 80 now.
Wow.
If you want to access them, all you got to do is go onto YouTube and you can either just type in CJB, which is obviously my initials, CJB body language, or just type in body language analysis and all my videos come up. And I'm under the CJ Baxter with 2 X's under that tagline, and all my videos come up. So I've done 80 on everything you could think of. I've done loads on flirting and dating, interviewing, a load of celebrities, quite a few criminal cases as well.
Wow.
And obviously the biggest one so far is that Justin Bieber, Mariah, 180,000 views on that. So things are going really well. I'm hoping to hit 1 million hits by next year, and hoping that might propel me into maybe doing some work on television or, some further radio work with yourself and things like that.
Absolutely. So who have you been analysing? Give us some names.
Who have been analysing? Beyonce.
Beyonce.
There was a rumour going around that she wasn't pregnant.
Right.
I had to clear that one up. She definitely is.
Yeah.
I've done that one. I've done a lot of work on criminal cases as well. I've done quite a few ones. I did the one on the Ian Huntley case. I don't know if you saw it a while ago with the Soul murderers from years ago. He went on Sky News and he did an appeal for help. I analysed that video and show how he was lying and about, the gestural timing being miles away and his speech being on the wrong place, and showing the characteristics of someone who is being deceptive because what he was actually saying never happened. I've done that one. My recent body language video I did last night, if you want to check it out, it's about uncovering the myths associated with deception. It's amazing how another body language specialist went on TV and he was giving indications of how to spot deceptive behaviour. And the cases he had were that liars will appear more nervous and things like that. And that's not the case at all. We discussed at length before about how truth tellers are often appear more nervous because they're afraid they're not going to be believed. My YouTube videos are going really well. My Understanding Body Language Liars, Cheats and Happy Feet page on Facebook is going really well. If you want to check that out as well, please do.
That is a big myth then, isn't it? Because I would have assumed that if somebody is trying to come across as telling the truth and they're actually lying, that they would appear quite nervous. But really, it's the person who's telling the truth.
Yeah, it's a misconception. Yeah, liars. People have got a misconception when it comes to lying that they'll show nervous behaviour. They won't necessarily show that because a liar will know full well that he's got to try and pull one over on you. He's got to make it sound credible. He wants you to believe what he's saying. But if he's showing nervous behaviour, then that person is not going to take him seriously, and the signs of deception are there. So what he'll do, a liar will have something called attempted behavioural control. So he'll either stop his gestures from moving at all, or he'll start showing signs of honest behaviour, what he perceives to be honest behaviour. Don't forget what we said about before about people who experience cognitive load. So people who are thinking complex lies or falsification, so things that are high stakes, something like an affair, a theft at work, things like that. The more creative thoughts you have inhibits your movement. So people often associate nervousness with lying. It's not the case, because they won't act nervous because their body won't allow for it, because their brain is so fixated on creating information, it hasn't got time to appear nervous. So it's very difficult spotting deception, and that's why we said before there are more verbal cues to deception, so like speech and paralinguistics and actual visual cues you're seeing.
So what about any cases that are going on at the moment? So any murder cases or anything like that? Have you done any?
I've not been in the UK. I've been in the United States for a little bit. There's a couple going out there as well. I was quite blessed before I left the UK to be asked help in a case in America by the authorities in America doing some statement analysis. But apart from that, there's nothing in the UK at the moment where I've had to look at and think, send my findings off to the police like I have done in America. Mm-hmm. But body language is a massive area, and people often get the wrong impression when it comes to body language about misinterpreting different signs, and especially by different cultures and ethnic origins. You've got to take that into consideration when you're decoding non-verbal communication, because often a behavioural you're seeing is a behaviour from a certain culture. Let's say, for instance, if you go to Japan, for instance, and you give someone direct eye contact, it's not good. They don't like direct eye contact over there. It's deemed offensive. In this country, it's 3 to 5 seconds. In Japan, it's 2 and break. You do not look someone in the eye. Same way you don't go to shake someone's hand in Japan, you bow. So you need to rehearse customs that are associated with that culture and ethnic origin. So again, looking at behaviour of that culture, you will often misinterpret what you're seeing because you think that means something in the UK, whereas actually if you go to the Orient in Japan, it means something completely different.
So what about lately then? Obviously there was the tragic news and death of Gary Speed, and obviously he did an interview, didn't he, beforehand on the same day?
Yeah.
And did you pick up on anything from
there was nothing. I've had that question asked 100 times since I got back. Obviously he passed while I was in America. I've had a look at the Match of the Day interview, and there is absolutely no signs there that he was contemplating something as tragic as that. With having suicidal thoughts, I should say, those will manifest in the brain, and you will experience cognitive load with that, thinking about, oh God, if I did this, if I did that, what are the ramifications? And it will leak out somewhere in your body, especially in your facial expression, because you're under such stress that it will leak out. I've watched that Match of the Day video 10 times, and 10 times I've said there is no indicator there of anything wrong. So what must have gone through Gary's mind, I don't know. And we send our condolences to his friends and families, but it's just a tragic event, and it wasn't, there was no signs to say that anything was going to happen.
Absolutely. So there's lots of pleas on TV, aren't there, for different cases,
loads,
and what have you. Is there any that you've looked at even in the past that you've been able to identify anything? Well,
obviously, like I said, with the Ian Huntley thing, that was detectable. The trouble is when that case came out, YouTube hadn't been invented then, so I couldn't place my findings on there. I remember seeing the video and I was like, that looks a bit interesting. It's very difficult to look at body language in everyday situation. It's good that you can record things and go back to it and look at it, because things happen in a blink of an eye that you'll have forgotten about. So looking at videotape is the best way to detect deception, because you can rewind different things. I mean, the Ian Huntley thing, if you look at my video, you can see the signs of stress and cognitive load where he's trying to create, and his speech becomes slower as he's creating. He's using persuasive head nodding. His immediacy is off because he's trying to think about where he was in the lie. Same with Shannon Matthews. Her daughter went missing, and you think about the emotion one would feel if your daughter went missing, you'd be frantic. She wasn't displaying that kind of behaviour, which becomes apparent. And also she starts becoming more defensive, which is not what you want. You want to be on the offensive. You want to find out who's kidnapped her. However, that never occurs to someone who knows where it is. It never occurs to you to say, we need to find her because you know where she is. So we're looking at behaviour and language, and again, we're looking at the actual verbal communication opposed to actually the non-verbal. So people have got a misconception about, like I said on numerous occasions, that liars will often appear more nervous and show signs of stress, like self-adapters, scratching, things like that. It's not necessarily the case. It's more about what they actually say is how you detect. So, clearing up false myths like that will help you, the audience, detect deception better than you potentially have been doing.
Absolutely. So there's lots of different things, aren't there, that they're looking
things
out
you would
for.
never even think about until, someone comes and clarifies.
And what about with children then?
Children.
Are they easy to read?
No, children. Children.
Okay.
Well, this is the myth, you see. Children, how old do you say? Like a youngster or
youngsters and teenagers?
All right, well, teenagers are.
Porkies.
Youngsters, no, because they haven't got the mental capacity yet to fabricate a convincing lie. It never occurs to a child to try and make the lie convincing or believable, and they haven't got the non-verbals. Plus, also, little children generally don't give longer statements, so there isn't enough time to catch a lie in a little statement, because they'll either say yes or no, and obviously there's nothing to read there. There's no detectable, cues to deception. So little children, like toddlers and moving up into like your 6s and 7s, they haven't got the capacity to, to convincingly lie yet. Whereas if you go into the teenage years, that's where your problems are, because they will look you in the eye and just, lie through their teeth all the time. Where have you been? Who are you with? How much money have you got?
I think we've all been there.
Have you done your homework? Things like that. But again, don't forget that when teenagers lie, it often is low stakes. So it's not really a matter of significant importance. And they can get away with the lie because, their parents will have something called the ostrich effect. Whereas, probably full well they're lying, but they're going to do nothing about it. So they'll bury their head in the sand and hope they won't do it again. They will not actually spend time analysing the behaviour, looking for the signs of deception, because in essence they're not really that bothered.
Yeah, so it's not something major.
Yeah, they're white lies, but if it's something serious, it's high stakes, that's when you need to be on your guard.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were getting into all this, who was your inspiration? Who inspired you
Who
to
inspired
become
me?
a body language expert?
Well, he's a body language, he's a former FBI agent. He's called Joe Navarro. You want to check out his book. He's done an excellent book. It's called What Everybody Is Saying. It's an Amazon bestseller. And I think after reading that, I got interested. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. But I've always had an interest in psychology, about how the brain works. And I think I've just adapted both of those traits, to becoming more competent in actually understanding kinesics and body language. So I'm quite fortunate enough to speak to Joe Navarro quite a lot, really. So he advises me on what to concentrate on, what journals to read, which is the best practice, because there's so many myths associated with deception. There's millions of books written about body language, but with very little research behind them. I concentrate on the body language that have actually been studied and researched. People say that there's loads of books saying that liars won't look you in the eye. Rubbish. There's no evidence or research to suggest that.
Absolutely. So we're coming towards the end of the show. It's gone fast as it always does.
Yeah.
So I know that you do lots of video analysis and you've got a Facebook page as well. So if people want to contact you or they want to look at any of your videos, how can they do so?
Yeah. Well, first thing, if you've gone to Facebook, just type in Understanding Body Language, Liars, Cheats and Apathy. All you got to do is type Understanding Body Language in. My page pops up. The profile picture is of me, just ready to skydive with a fake smile, saying I can't remember what the tagline is, but that's my page. Have a look on there. And if you want to go onto YouTube, just type in CJB Body Language or CJ Baxter with 2 X's, and all my videos come up. And I'm also on Twitter. Just find me at Body Language UK. So any questions or queries, I get hundreds of emails a day. Can you analyse this? Can you analyse that? Is this guy lying? Is this girl lying? Things like that. So if you'd like to learn more about body language, then please check it out. And I look forward to speaking to you all soon.
Absolutely. So, Craig, we're coming to the end of the show. Now, we have a feature at the end of the show where we always ask some random questions just to find a bit of more information about you.
Right, okay.
So,
this has not been
ready?
rehearsed.
Well,
yes.
there you go.
Wow, here we go.
Okay. So, if you weren't doing the career that you're doing now and you could have done absolutely anything else, what would you have liked to have done? Absolutely anything.
Blimey. I've always wanted to be a policeman. That's what I wanted to be, because I'm quite big. I'm 6'2". I'm pushing 18, so I'm a big lad. But I'm colourblind, so I'm not allowed in. I think, anything to do with people, basically. Anything else I can apply my traits of body language on people. So I think maybe a policeman I'd like to be.
Yeah, okay. And if you could have lived anywhere in the world, apart from the beautiful UK, where would you have lived?
I will probably relocate to Orlando, Florida, where I've just come from, because it was beautiful and everyone was so friendly, and the atmosphere and the food. Oh, blimey.
Disneyland.
Yes, Disney, yes, exactly.
Oh, fantastic. So, out of everything that you've experienced so far in life and everything that you've learnt, if you were to leave everyone with one piece of advice, okay, on anything that you've learnt so far, What could you tell people? What piece of advice would you give?
What piece of advice would I give? Well, not many people know this, but I've actually got a massive tattoo all across my back. It took a long time, and it's of an eagle sat on top of the world, and with a quote that says, "Right now, opportunity is passing you by." And I live by that. You know, I've done a lot of things in life. I've skydived, I've bungee jumped, whitewater rafted, I've been all around the world, you know, and I think opportunity is always passing you by in any respect. So if you seize the moment and seize the day, you can do whatever you want, and that's what the eagle on top of the world represents. If you put your mind to it, you can have the world. You can do anything you want. So that's the best bit of advice I would give. And another one, I'll probably say another one from, you know, Mark Twain, is in 20 years' time, when you look back on your life, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So, you know, take heed of that with the opportunity passing you by. If you want to do something, go and do it. Don't think, what if? Don't have regrets. That's the worst thing. You don't want to get to 60, 70 and think, God, I wish I'd have done that when I was 20, or I should have did that when I was 30. Ignore that. Just go and do it.
Just go.
Worry about the consequences later.
That's it. Have a good time.
Yeah, have a good time.
So if you were stranded on a desert island and you can only take one thing with you,
right,
what would you take?
Does that include my missus?
It can do.
Oh, I'll probably take Kat with me. I think because I think that's what I would pine for her more than anything else. But either that or Sky Plus. I'd miss the footy. I don't know. I'd have to.
Either that or Sky Plus.
Yeah, it's a coin toss. But no, I think I'd take my missus because I'd miss her, and yeah, I think so. And I can wind her up about body language as well.
There you go. There you go. So lastly, if there is a God and you arrive in heaven one day, what would you want God to say to you?
I'd probably want him to say, that was a hell of a ride. Well done. I'm impressed. Thank you for helping so many people out. I think that's very important to help others out. So.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, any other plans for the rest of the week ahead?
No, I'm off all week. I'm off now till January. I've obviously come back from Florida. I'm off now, so I'm just a bit of Christmas shopping for the missus. Doing some more reading, obviously updating my body language stuff, doing some more video analysis, and just generally having a good time and try not to drink and eat too much. So that's the plan. You might have to widen that door for me on the way out in January. I
think everyone's the same come New Year.
Oh yeah, and then the New Year's resolution kicks in. I get fitter and healthier, and then obviously when you start to get fit and healthy, you want to find a partner, because then the whole dating and flirting thing comes in, and and they always say April's the cruelest month, because did you know that most couples split up in April and any other month?
Do you?
Yeah,
Why
did you know
think that is?
I think it's something to do with the run-up to summer. I think that people obviously want to, to experience summer and go away on holidays and things like that. And I think April, like they always say, it's the cruelest month. I think they just get fed up. I think the Christmas festivities are over, and I think they just decide that April is just the time to leave. So there you go.
Absolutely. So do you get people asking you then, come New Year 2012 and New Year's resolutions, asking you for tips and tools and how they can attract somebody?
Well, dress sense is good. Make sure you've got some good aftershave, and just try and build your confidence with the opposite sex. It's all you need to do. It's not as intimidating as you think it is. Approaching someone who's nice, just say hello, give them a compliment. That's all you need to do, and obviously just gauge the reaction. If she's taking you on, she will show you silently, non-verbally, with her eyes, with her gestures, with her, walking into your personal space, and then build on that. There's nothing worse than going unprepared, because you don't know what she's doing. You can't read those expressions. So get yourself adept in reading non-verbal communication, then you'll know what's happening. If you don't, you're thinking, and then you're relying then on her words, and often the words do not go against what she's saying.
And what about ladies looking to find a nice man for New Year, looking to find love? What can they do to help themselves?
Well, obviously, in the same respects, making sure they look nice, which they obviously do. They obviously spend a lot more time getting ready than the guy does. I think just, everything I've just said today, basically, about making yourself look as submissive as possible, trying to find who looks nice to begin with, and obviously try and, gauge the personality. I mean, it's often some people go based on looks, some people go based on personality. It's entirely up to you. Obviously, you want the two together, but it can be a minefield. But become more adept in non-verbal communication. Obviously, guys are not what's the word I'm looking for, as intuitive as women are at deciphering signals. Men generally don't give off as many non-verbal cues as women do in the dating world. So gentlemen are a lot easier to read than the women are.
And do you think men and women look for different things in a partner? So for women, example, we might look for you know, is there a possibility of settling down with this person, having children with them, where some men might just look at them and think,
yeah, she's good for
nice.
a good time. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, certainly in your younger years, that's what you look for. But as you start to advance your years, I think you both start to look for the same thing: is happiness, is to be happy. You know, guys won't necessarily admit to that because it removes the masculine and the prowess and the bravado of being a man. But I think so. I think as you get older, you start to look at different things, like settling down, looking at potentially having kids in a house and things. And that's what you want. You want to be happy. You don't want to get to the stage where you're coming up to 40 and you're a serial dater and you think, oh, God, I keep going on these dates and I can't find the right person. It's all about being picky or finding the right person for you. If you find a good one, keep hold of them, for goodness sake.
Absolutely. So, New Year's resolutions, do you tend to make any?
Yeah, I tend to break them as well. I'm not actually. My New Year's resolutions are pretty good. I mean, I said to myself I'll do a skydive one year, and I did. And then I said I'll do a bungee jump, and I did. I went whitewater rafting, went to Canada, things like that. Next year, I'm not sure. I think my New Year's resolution next year is to make that break from doing this socially to doing this, and being in the public eye. So either doing more radio work or branching out into TV work or just getting that break. I think that's what I'm going to try and focus on next year. Obviously, keep working at my relationship with my lovely missus, because I think that's important, to keep working at your relationships, stop it becoming stale. We're the best of friends anyway, but just have a long happy future, just building for the future. I think that's the best thing you can do, and hopefully the world won't end on the 23rd of December, because that'll be a terrible shame for all this work I'm doing.
That's it. Well, a huge thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
And have a lovely Christmas and a very happy New Year.
Thank you, and yourself.
Do stay tuned. Coming up next, we have more non-stop hits.